Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia, though there is only 7 living at home at the moment. I've had a few requests for some repeat videos. One of them is cowboy candy, which I will do sometime in the next couple of weeks because we're very low. But the other one has been my Heinz style baked beans. So that's what I'm going to get done today. The kids love them, so having them on the shelf is really important, especially over winter when they want warm food. And if I'm baking bread regularly, they have them on toast and all that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, first up, I need to boil my beans. So the first step that I do is I boil my beans. Now, I got these in, they're not the cheapest way to buy it. It was just all I could access easily, and they were just from Coles or Woolworths. So all I'm going to do is I've got 5 packets of these, which ends up being about 1.8-ish kilos of beans. So I find that's a good sort of a measure to do in one batch. So we're just going to put all these in here, and then I'm going to just quickly pick through them, make sure there's no rocks or anything that needs to be pulled out of these beans. I do really need to find a source to get them bulk, but the problem is that I only make this a couple of times a year, really. So storing them bulk can be an issue. So then I'm just going to quickly go through, see if there's any in here that are a bit discolored or anything out of the ordinary. There's a couple of broken ones, but I'm not concerned about that. Doesn't appear to be any rocks or any heavily discolored beans. They all look pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to cover this with a couple of inches of water above. So we've got these covered generously with cold water. I'm just going to pull anything that floats off the top. It's mostly just husks of beans, and then give them a quick stir and see if anything else comes up to the surface that we can discard. Looks pretty good, and I'm going to bring these up to a boil for 15 minutes. So what we're working on doing is removing some of the phytic acids from the beans, helping them break down before we can them for better digestibility. So we're going to boil these, bring them up to the boil and let them sit at a boil for 15 minutes. Then we're going to turn them off and let them sit for half an hour to an hour, and then we'll clean the water and bring them up again. This won't cook the beans, but it will bring them more to a size of a cooked bean, and it will just help with that digestibility. So that's what the next step. All right, so we've boiled it for 15 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat off, and then I'm going to put a lid on it and let it sit for an hour. All right, so this is after an hour of sitting. You can see that they've like doubled in size and they've soaked up a lot of the water. So I'm going to give these a quick rinse. I'm going to put the same amount of water as I did last time, a couple of inches over the top of them, bring them up to the boil for another 15 minutes and let them sit, and then we'll be ready to turn them into the baked beans. All right, clean water, as I said, putting them on to boil for another 15 minutes. All right, so beans have done their extra 15-minute boil and are soaking now. They've been soaking for about half an hour. So now I'm going to get the sauce ready for it. So what I need is about 4 big onions, all nice and finely diced up. So we're just going to dice them up nice and fine, get them going in a pan with the sauce. Now we're going to have around about 4 litres of liquid, so we just need a pot that will hold that amount of liquid. Now I'm sweating off the onions low heat. We want them just to go a little bit translucent, and we're going to add the sauce. Now, the previous batch that I made, I used tomato juice because that's what the recipe called for. Now, I had decided I didn't really want to use tomato juice because if I use tomato juice, I have to purchase it to make the baked beans. It's not something that I stock. I do have passata on the shelves all the time though, and passata is basically just pureed tomatoes. So tomato juice is thinner because it's watered down, but it's basically this diluted. So that's what we're going to give this a go with. I've got 2 here, so that's 1.4 litres, and we want around about 4 litres of liquid. So I'm going to put these 2 in. All right, so we've got those 2 in there. I'm going to tip some water from this jar has 1.5 litres of water in it, so I'm going to use some of this in each jar and then pour the rest in. So at the moment we've got 2.9 litres of liquid. All right, so now we just need an extra 1.1 litre. Probably could have done with a slightly bigger pot, but we'll make it work. All right, and that brings it up to 4. Now I'm going to hold off the liquid just a little bit because we need to add some sugar in this too. This is where you could add a whole lot of different flavors if you wanted to. Like I could have sweated some bacon off with this. You could add liquid smoke to it. You can add all sorts of things. But what we're going for here is the plain Heinz basic beans, because that's what the kids like. So to me, that seems to be the equivalent of tomato juice, and I think that's going to be perfectly fine. But we do need to sweeten it because it's that style of baked beans and the tomatoes aren't sweetened. So we're going to go with about 1.5 tablespoons of salt and 1.3 cups of sugar. So we've got 1 cup and 1/3. Now, I'd be tempted to put some molasses in here if it was for me. If I was making some like baked beans as a meal, I would be inclined to put molasses in there and that bit of smoke and things like that. And I really should have used a bigger pot, shouldn't I? I will remember for next time, because we've still got a bit of water here as well. So all we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to a simmer so that the onion is all clear. We want that soft. Now it is going to get softer in the canning because these will be canned for quite a while. But for the moment, we still want these to be cooked through and soft and this sugar to dissolve and things like that. So I'm just going to leave it on medium heat and let it go, and I'm going to go wash my jars. Canning video, and I forgot to turn the camera on for all the actual canning. So, anyway, these are the beans. They were done with the double boiling, the 15 minutes of boiling for each time and an hour of soaking in between. And this is what they look like. So what I've done is I've got Fowler's 20 jars, which are about 600 mils. And I've filled them to sort of 2/3 full with these beans. Now, these beans aren't fully cooked, like they wouldn't be very nice to eat, but they are at almost the size that they will stay. So by doing it this way, it gives you a bit more of a judgment of how many beans you need to put in the jar to get a full jar's worth, and it allows you to do it. So it ended up being about a generous cup of these cooked beans per jar to get it at this point of the jar. I talked a bunch of stuff while I was doing it, and I don't know what I said anymore, so we'll see if I remembered it, if I covered the stuff that I needed to. So I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 jars here. That's what I washed. We'll see how we go as to whether I need any more. I'll wash more if I need it. But I've got these to start with. Now the sauce, I did just get the wrong size pot, so I still have 500 mils worth of water to go in here. So all I'm going to do is take the top off and put it in a few jars and then add that 500 mils and mix it through. It's distilled, it's filtered water, it's fine. The onions are mostly clear, but they will cook more in the sauce, so it's not that big a deal. So all I'm going to do, let me do it at a front jar so that you can see what I'm doing, even if it makes a mess. And the bench is lovely at the moment. Is I'm going to just pour. Now I am going to pour a scoopful in a few jars and then water it down a little bit so that we've got the even flavors through. But all I'm doing is pouring the sauce in. At this point I could put a drop or two of liquid smoke in each pot if I wanted to, in each jar, but as I said, this is for the kids more than anything. We're not eating carbs at the moment anyway. I quite like baked beans, but it won't be me who's eating them, and the kids like them nice and plain. So I'm just going to add that extra 500 mils in now and give that a mix up, just so that we've got that 4 litres of liquid that is normally required for this amount of beans, but I've never found it particularly exact anyway. And all I'm going to do is top up the jars. So we want to bring it up to, it's going to be pressure canned, so I like to bring it up to sort of where the shoulder starts curving. I find that that is a good spot in the jars, because if you go too much higher, I find that we get some siphoning. We will see how we go with liquid quantities, but that's what I'm going to do for the moment, is bring them all up to just where the shoulder starts curving over the top. To give it a, when I get my packing stick, I'll show you the headspace because it has a measuring thing on the end. I'm going to go and grab it in a sec, but for the moment I'm just going to fill all these jars up and see what I've got in the way of extra liquid, and then I will bring you back. Okay, so next step, we've got our packing stick and we're going to just put it in there and jiggle it all around a bit to make sure that none of the beans have, you know, like clumped up and that there's no liquid going in between them. So we're just going to debubble them like so. Every jar in there, just give it some jiggling around, make sure that there's no air pockets, and then we're going to assess our headspace again. Now, on the other end of the packing stick, there is a headspace calculator. So this one here is 1 inch. So if you put that on the side of the jar and you dangle it in the jar, if the liquid is touching the bottom of this bit here, then that is 1 inch of headspace. So what we can do is we can place the stick there and top it up to 1 inch. Now, in saying that, I don't like to do quite 1 inch on my Fowler's jars, only because of the way they narrow at the neck. So for me, I feel like even if it says 1 inch, it's actually less than an inch because of the way the jug narrows. So I do 1 1/4 probably. So it's just not quite touching the thing, which again, it's just up above the shoulder. Just where it starts to narrow up, that's where I do it to. It's just my experience with these jars, that's what I found is successful. So we take it up to just where it curves over the top of that shoulder, and I find that that is perfect. All of them need to be topped up slightly after the settling from debubbling, and then they're all sitting around about at that, just cresting the shoulder of the jar. I would say that this is still just a touch fuller than I would like. There we go. I want to be able to see a clearance between where the actual thread starts and the liquid. That's just, as I said, my experience, my choices with doing it like this. So these are done. There is still liquid and there are still beans. So I will wash some more jars, but I'm going to get these sorted first rather than trying to juggle stuff. So I need to get some paper towel and some vinegar to give the lids on the rings on these a clean. All right, so we've got some vinegar. What we're going to do is we're going to clean the rims of all of these jars and then put the rings on them. So we just want to make sure that there's no bits of onion, no residue of sauce, anything like that. Give them a good clean. And we've got size 3 rings for the 20s. I did actually notice last time I was canning that I'm getting pretty low on these rings. I'm going to have to order some more. So we want to get them on there nice and square, make sure there's no twists in them. Just some people choose to put the rings on before they fill the jars. I don't think that I knew that that was an option when I first started canning, so I've never done it. But it did mean that I ended up with jars full of hot stuff all over myself a couple of times when I was first learning. So I've sort of got the technique down pat now, but it did take me a bit to figure out how to get the rings on to a jar when it's full of hot liquid. So I don't necessarily recommend it. But I do have it fairly down pat. That doesn't mean that I don't still occasionally spill things though, and this is pretty hot, so it would not be pleasant to end up all over myself. But I'm just going to get these ones done, and then I'm going to grab my lids so that I've got a bit more space. Wiped, cleaned, and then wiped out with a little bit of vinegar as well. And then I'm going to place them, and we're going to put the clips on them. Now I double clip my fowlers when I'm pressure canning. Personal preference. I find that pressure canning fails with a single clip, so I double clip them. So we're just going to clean the rest of these lids and clips, and then I'll get them in the canner, because I'm really doing this at the wrong time of the day, but that's life. So I'll finish these and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I put those jars in, and this is what I've got with the leftover beans. It's probably a little light on the beans in these ones, but better to be a little light than too much, because then you'll have issues. So I'm just going to do these 4, which I think maybe I won't have quite enough liquid for. Let me have a look here. Maybe I need to spread those beans a little bit and just have a few extra as wastage. We might end up only doing 3. So we might now we're going too far. This is why. That one's probably fine, but this one I'm going to say, and this one, and take a spoonful out, and that should be good. So now I'm just going to split the liquid. So we ended up with what, 14, 15, 16, 17 jars, which I will fit between the 2 canners, so that's good. So I'm happy with that, with just a few surplus beans. Let's give these a quick clean. I actually didn't debubble them, so I will quickly debubble them and top up if needed. I'm actually going to take a little bit out of that one. There we go. All right, rings. And hopefully enough clips, because this was a big bulk canning job. Clips. One, 2. It does not look like it. I really thought I had another box of new ones. A viewer sent me some spares that she had a while back, and I used a box the other day, but I thought there was another one and I can't seem to find it. And I need 4 more clips. Just 4. Right, what I've decided to do, some of these jars have brand new clips on them. The ones that were out of that brand new box the other day, and they are very, very tight fitting clips, which is part of what I think the reason I have to double clip is because most of mine are secondhand and they're all different sizes. So I've got brand new clips on those, so I'm going to leave them as singles, and I'm going to find 2 more that I can leave as singles to add second ones to these. I know, I'm sort of jury-rigging it. And of course I'm putting these in and out of hot water, which isn't ideal, but there we go. So let's hope for the best. This one, oh, I can't even get the edge of this one up. There you go. So that's got a brand new clip on it, nice and scented, that one too, and we'll just hope for the best. So the jars are warm, the canner's warm, so we're putting hot jars into the hot canner. We've got both of them going on the Camp Chef. So we've got the Presto and we've got the Buffalo. So now I'm just going to put the lids on them. We're going to do the steady stream of steam for 10 minutes and then we're going to can these, process these for 75 minutes. Now remember to take the heat up slow and steady, otherwise you'll have siphoning issues and potential thermal shock and stuff like that. So I turn the Camp Chef down to low and let it sort of warm up, and then I crank it up a little bit by little bit by little bit until it starts the steam, because I like that gradual heating. The jars are already hot, so it doesn't take very long for it to do that, but I definitely taking that extra bit of time to do the gradual heat up will help have less fails of the jars, especially since I've only got single clips on some of those. So I've turned it right down and we're going to take that heat up nice and slow. And while that happens and I'm supervising, I'm going to clean up my bench. The Presto will come up to steam faster because it's got a smaller capacity. So the Presto has gotten there. So we're going to stick the weight on and then we'll bring that up to 11 pounds or a 15 pound weight jiggling. But the Buffalo hasn't quite got there yet. Now it's the next morning because it was dark by the time I got the jars out of the canner. We had some dramas. One of the biggest flaws with cooking in gas is that you run out of gas every now and again. So the Camp Chef ran out of gas. The kids were out here and didn't mention it. So by the time I realized everything had come off pressure and I had to restart the timer, I had to get them back up to pressure and restart the timer, which means I did actually lose a jar. It broke. And we did have a little bit of siphoning because the fluctuations in temperature are not ideal for canning. So anyway, so these have sat for 24 hours. They look good. There's a bit of beans on the outside because of the jar that broke in the canner, so they all need a wash. Everything looks good. All the beans look well cooked. They're all covered in liquid, and that's the main thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clips off these, clean up the jars, and then we might open one to have with lunch to give them a go. Alrighty, so we've washed up all the jars. Now, I just use a butter knife because I did have a Fowler's jar opener, but it broke. And all I do is slowly wedge it around until we break the seal on it, and there we go. Alrighty, so this is what they come out like, nice and soft. They look just like the Heinz tins. Plenty of liquid, but also plenty of beans per jar. So that's what they look like. Now, I like my beans cold personally, but some of them kids like them warmed. So what we do is we warm some up for them as needed. So I'm going to cook some toast, maybe fry some eggs, and then warm some of these up for the kids and we can have them for lunch. But that's what we've got with the home canned baked beans. So I just did a tray up for the kids to serve themselves. Their classes are a little bit all over the place compared to how we used to have everything scheduled at a set time and everyone sat down to eat and stuff at the same time. We haven't quite got that going at the moment. So I just did a platter up and they can come and serve themselves and make more if that's what they want. So that's the kids' lunch.